welcome to the garage. We're finally out here working on stuff. If you watched the last video, we got all the new coils in place, and what I noticed, both at the track, if you guys watched that video too, that's the first time I noticed that there was coolant getting into the spark plug holes. And I didn't think much of it because we were focused on so many other things. What I thought it was is this coolant port in the back. I thought it was leaking into it, but Kelly, I remember at the time, he's like, no, it can't be that coolant port because that would leak towards the back. And it was also leaking coolant down into the second valley, which there's no way for coolant to get from this back port to that second valley in the middle. So like I said, I didn't think much of that, but since it's happened multiple times now, it's actually becoming an issue because it fills the spark plug valleys with coolant. You can see that one's completely filled, and then that one back there is filled. It's basically creating swimming pools of coolant in those spark plug holes, which might have actually been what was causing the high resistance on our coils, which was causing the spark plugs to arc out. Because when you get liquid around the spark plugs and the spark plug boot, if you don't have a great boot, which none of those Toyota coils had really good boots on them, I think it was causing high resistance and making the spark jump. Either way, that needs to be resolved, and I didn't know exactly what it was. I started to wonder if it was a cracked head, but what I didn't realize at the time is as much as I've worked on 2Js, I've never taken these ports out. There's these 3 hex headed Allen bolt ports in here, and it turns out they go directly to the coolant passage. And I literally have never taken them out, which is kind of stupid. It's probably a good thing to take these out when you wash the head, or I don't really know what they're for. Maybe they're just for machining, and then yeah, that's interesting. They just seal with like a copper washer style. Look down in there, that's kind of wild. I don't really even know what I'm looking at there. It must just be like coolant passages inside the head. Really wild. But either way, somehow these ended up leaking. Like I said, I've never loosened them. They must have loosened themselves. So I'm gonna clean this all up, reseal these, and hopefully that's the only problem that we have with coolant leaking into the spark plug holes. Aside from that, we got the Tundra alternator on the installed, and this is the part number if you guys are curious about the Tundra alternator. That's the O'Reilly part number. And the only thing that we had to do to install it on a factory JZ, this is not a factory setup, but you basically cut about 5 millimeters off of that part where it mounts to the water pump bracket, which is what it would normally be. In this case, I cut it and then realized I didn't need to because we got shims and spacers in there anyways. But I think this alternator is going to work a lot better than this fancy Mechlin alternator, which decided to self-destruct. It got really hot too. I'm wondering if we had some belt problems on drift week. I wonder if it sucked a bunch of belt material in there. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but the fact that I've had one fail before years and years ago makes me think that they're not great for this application. So I think this will work out a lot better. Anyways, fast forward, I'm gonna go ahead and plug all this up, and then we wanna run it and make sure the alternator is working properly. That's a self-exciting alternator. This one needs an external source for excitement. So we actually have that provision already in the Chase Bay's wiring harness. So I'm gonna go grab a Deutsch connector and then wire this up so we can just have a fancy plug and plug that right in there and make sure the alternator works properly. And that's probably all we're gonna do tonight. Next thing is to start working on the fuel system and the quick change. We have this subframe over here, which is from an R33 non-turbo. Not only is it non-turbo, it's like base model. So it's kind of weird because it's like a small diff. I think it's an R180 or something. But it has all the same geometry as an S14 subframe, which is beneficial for grip in an S13 chassis. So I'm going to use this subframe mainly because I can't really use it for anything else. It won't work in an S14 because an S14 diff won't bolt into it, and with the quick change you have to cut this up anyways. So I'm going to sacrifice this subframe for that reason, and then I won't have to do the GK Tech weld kit to correct the control arm geometry and all that stuff. So this is the next step, is start cutting this up, get the quick change fitted in there, get the axle measurement all dialed in, and then we'll go from there. I'm talking too much jibber jabber. On to the next part. All right, so I need to figure out where, which one of these two wires in the chase base harness supplies power to excite the alternator. So I got my wish.com power probe. Turbo always makes for a good ground. And this thing sucks because when you turn it on, you gotta like scroll through the menu to turn the sound off so it doesn't make noise. Super annoying. Soon I'm gonna make a power probe video showing you guys how to use a power probe, because I've had people tell me that like, I really want a power probe, but I don't really know what to do with it or how to use it. I'm like, oh bro, I'll show you everything I know about the power probe, which is probably only half of what it's actually capable of, but still more than enough for me. So I'm trying to figure out which of these two pins has 12 volts. One of them should, but in order to do that, we gotta turn the power on. It's a lot of noise. All right. Red wire has power, and that one has nothing. So it's our red wire is the one that we want. Boom. So I was already able to reseal those 3 coolant plugs. Basically just cleaned them off really well, cleaned off the surface on the head, put some RTV on the threads, cleaned up the washers, and just ran them back in there. So double protection. Hopefully that works out well. Now that I know which wire this is, for some reason, so I bought this kit, which is kind of cool. It's a Deutsch Connector Kit. It's got all sorts of wish.com Deutsch connectors, but it had pretty good reviews on Amazon. So I'll leave the link to this in the description. So if you guys want to check it out, you can go over to my Amazon affiliate, whatever store, and buy it, and then, you know, support me. But so far I've used a couple of these and they work really well. So I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with this. Basically, I mean, if we're talking about it, if I'm selling you guys on it, I should just do the full thing and sell it. Deutsch connectors are pretty fancy because they, well, not that one. Because they have a seal, so they're watertight. When you plug those together, you're not getting water in there. The back is sealed on both sides. So it makes a really watertight connection, and they're really compact. This one comes with 2-pin connectors all the way up to, I think, like 16 pin connectors. So this set is gonna be really handy. And then all the terminals are the same. So really you just need the proper crimpers for this. I actually honestly haven't looked through this whole thing. Is that a de-pinning? Whoa, this is really cool. Learn as we go. I actually was about to go get a de-pinning tool, but it looks like it comes with one. Anyways, I thought I could just use the male side and connect with the one that's already here, but that's a different style Deutsch connector. I don't know if that's an older style or just like a different type. So what I'm gonna do is just cut that off and use 2 of the new ones, and update this to, like I said, more modern stuff. The thing I'm learning about this car, not learning, but like realizing, we built this thing 10 years ago, and like I definitely was not at the same level 10 years ago as I am now, both as a driver and as a technician. So every time I see a little problem, not only do I fix it, but I want to update it, upgrade it, make it better to the basic knowledge and skill that I have today. So it's kind of fun doing that, but it's also frustrating. Like, man, why did I do it this way? It's kind of like, this is really low quality on some things. So I'm happy to be able to like bring the car up to snuff. And this is part of it, is fixing little things like this, because my instinct is to be like, oh, I just want this to run, I'm gonna jam those 2 things together. It's like, no, let's do it properly. Let's get the Deutsch connectors and make it all kosher. Okay, so first thing, we're gonna disconnect this. We're only using one of these 2 wires, so I'm gonna fold that one back so it's out of the way. And then before I connect all this, I'm actually gonna slip a bigger piece of heat shrink on there so that I can bring it over and shrink the back of the connector, just like the rest of these, how they have like little boots shrunk on them. I'm gonna do that with this so that the new connector will be completely sealed. Okay. So I finished this up. I didn't want to show all that. It was I fought this for a while. It would have been pretty funny to show. Ended up stabbing my hand with a pick trying to take this back apart. But anyways, it's not the thing's fault. You know, I'm still promoting these. I'm just an idiot. I got my single wire going to the alternator, which is the exciter. That should do the job. That's all done. We got all the coils back in place. Something I got to deal with tomorrow, which I'm not going to deal with right now, is this rear heater hose port, which there's a lot of debate about that. You don't focus on that. That's some 2009 stuff. There's a lot of debate about that. People just plug those off. On the 2J, it comes right out of the top here. On the 1J, it comes out of the side. My opinion, based on science and facts, is that if you plug that off, you're gonna have issues with coolant circulation, and you're gonna have like you're gonna have overheating issues. So you definitely wanna get as much water flow out of the head as possible. So anywhere that water flows in or out of the head, you wanna make sure and give it a path to somewhere else to let the hot water exit the head. So in this particular case, I actually have it going back to this goofy canister that's part of my rear radiator setup and all the flow and all that stuff. And this car stays really cool. That is not what I was talking about though. So that's done. I think we're ready to test it out and make sure that it's charging. When we were at the track, my battery voltage, if you were watching the log, it was like between 10 and 14, depending on where the RPM was. So like the whole log is like voltage was doing that. Not just a little bit, like a crazy amount. And that was causing fuel pressure issues. The injectors were having trouble keeping up because, you know, there's a voltage scale for the injectors and they're like, I don't know what to do. And so the car was cutting out really bad. And I'm hoping that was only related to battery voltage. Ironically, the fuel pressure was fairly consistent. It wasn't jumping with the voltage. So that's what I would expect to see. Anyways, let's start and see where we're at. Sometimes I start talking and jibber jabbering and I just need to stop. And that's what I'm gonna do, is stop. We turn the power on, Jesse?
Yes.
Follow me over here so the folks can see action. So I got battery voltage pulled up on here. Turn the ECU on, make sure we're connected. There we go. Battery voltage is 11.8 right now. Fuel pump's on. We should see it jump up immediately. There we go. Almost 14 volts. Let's turn on the power steering, electric power steering, which draws quite a bit. We're still at 13 volts. Let's turn the fan on. This is on the list of things that would need to be fixed. This is not proper here. Still above 13? Oh yeah, dude. That Tundra alternator is way better than that Mechman alternator. I'm super happy with this. And we can get it at any auto parts store. I think O'Reilly has it in stock almost every store. So that's the move for sure. We'll get back to it tomorrow. I forgot I still have wideband problems. We got a long list of stuff to do. This is just the beginning, but this car's got to be ready in about a week before we go to HOTPIT. See you tomorrow, bye. All right guys, we're back again. We're doing quick change stuff tonight. Behind me, we've got the R13 subframe. Jake has measured it out and started marking it. We're gonna make our first cuts. Hopefully, I have no idea what we're doing. We've watched some videos, we've got some advice, and we're just gonna go forward with it because I can't wait any longer to get this going. We actually are developing this piece here. I can't say it was my idea. I think it was Josh Brown's idea. Put it in my head, but this is a adapter to go to Z32 axles. And someone might be like, well, why don't you just spend money? Because I don't have money. That's why I don't spend money. So we're trying to find a way to use either Z33 or Z32 twin turbo, Q45, GTR axles, all the same thing. We don't have our measurements for axle lengths yet, so I'm hoping that's going to work. But either way, we have the piece. I want to figure out how to make that work. But this is the Einzel kit. This is what Wout produces and sells. It's the S13, S14 quick change weld-in kit. So we've got everything bolted to the diff. The cool thing about this is that he has a two-piece front design that allows you to bolt it together without taking the bolts out of the differential itself. So it'll hang off of these 4 bolts. And then the back just unbolts from here. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. We were about to make these cuts. Basically, to start with, we're just gonna cut those out, slip that, slip the differential inside the subframe, and then get our like forward to backward orientation and then start tack welding those, and then we can figure out how the front's gonna sit. The one thing I don't know for sure is what the pinion angle is gonna be. I assume just setting the diff on the floor, setting the subframe on the floor is gonna be good enough, because I don't really know how to do it other than that. Once we get all that done, we can get our drive shaft length, and all the videos we watched, people are having to cut up into the frame rail of the car and then box that in. So that's another challenge that we have to come across. We have, I think, about a week before we go to hot pit. So it's quite a bit of work to do in that time. So basically, once we get this in, we can get our axle lengths and our drive shaft and figure out if we actually have enough time to do everything that we want to do before hot pit. If it doesn't work, then we'll just stick with what we got, which is not a great gear ratio. The last race I was in, the last drift event competition, first gear is very long, so like you either have to blow the tires off or like bog, so it's kind of hard. So I wanted to be able to gear down to like a 5.3 or something, so get to fourth gear really quick and get off the line really quick, which is always a struggle when you have a turbo car as opposed to a V8. Anyways, that's the plan. We're gonna start making cuts. First thing you want to do before you make any cuts is remove the guard on your grinder, because all that's going to do is get in your way and not allow you to, make any good cuts. Gotta be smarter than the tool though. In preschool, square peg, hole, round, all that stuff, that toy, that's kind of what this is, and I kind of failed at it. My one concern is by taking this structural part out of the middle, I'm wondering how loose the subframe will get. I hope that's not under any tension and all of a sudden jumps or something. But with the way we've got it sitting on the floor right now, basically we've got our cross measurement. I'll take some up and down measurements and make sure it doesn't move too far. That's 25.6. 26, pretty close enough. This floor is dead straight too. So we got the back part cut out. That slipped in there pretty nicely. So now we're trying to figure out our orientation forward to backward. But just looking at how the axles are going to travel through these hoops, it looks to me like we want the diff to be as far forward in the subframe as possible, which is going to put us almost touching this. So now we're about ready to start trimming out this profile to make sure that it's going to fit in there nicely. Terry asked me why his wife has seen my butt more than he's seen his butt, because my pants are always falling off in my videos.
What I want to know is why she hasn't seen his butt more.
What's the reason, Terry? That was tight when you started. Attention. Wasn't it tight?
It seems like it was.
We'll pinch together and hope for the best. Dang, Jake's leg clamp. We need more butts in this video. Mine is too present.
Maybe
That was pretty slow. polish, this polish at the top there.
Okay.
And then this will end up with a piece of pipe across here. And yeah, some gussets in here. Actually, this is a really nice kit from Einzel. Something like that. I'm gonna have to call Wout and see what his recommendation is. Looks like if you did that, it would actually tie it all the way into everything. Add some strength here, but for now, I'm just gonna weld all this up, and then we'll find a piece of tube to cut and fit in there. So one of my concerns was our axle length, and I actually went and measured another subframe I have outside. And if I split the difference between this width and our adapters, which are 20 millimeters, and hub to hub, that leaves our axles, it was 51.5 millimeters. So come check this out. Just want to walk. Check this out. Wheels that are sick. They're sick. Anyways, distractions. Let's keep going. All right. And the measurement was from hub, which is hub surface right there, to inside here, about right there, 51.5. So we are like in the range right there, like depending on how this squishes down. And you know, we can always widen the track a little bit if the axles are too narrow, or bring it in. So like being really close to what we measured it at is really good. That means we're going to use two of the same side axle instead of normal Nissans have a long and a short. Since the quick change is perfectly centered and the diff isn't offset, we're going to have two same length, same side axles. So we could either use Z33, which are a little bit weaker, but since it's my high horsepower car, we're going to use the Z32 twin turbo axles. I believe that is the twin turbo axle, the short side, which unfortunately is the one that's really hard to get a hold of. But I do happen to have two of them, so that helps us out. But what's funny is I have two pairs of complete axle sets, but that means I have to use the two from one set, and so that doesn't really leave me with a spare. But those axles are really strong. I really don't think they'll fail. If I was worried about them failing, I would have just, you know, dimed down and bought the axles for this quick change. But like I said, I ain't rich, so gotta do what we gotta do. Work with what I've already got. I'm saying that I ain't rich while we're putting this expensive diff in here. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
A little bit rich, but not rich enough to buy axles.
Took a lot of pennies to save up for this.
And you can rub. I got 2 quarters to rub together. This is why I don't throw junk away. This is some random rusty piece, it's not that rusty, of like old roll cage tubing or something, and we just found it laying around. It's a pretty thick wall, so it worked out perfectly. Cut off the rest, trash it, and then we can use this. We got a whole bin full of scrap metal that's always in the way, and I absolutely hate having it here, but it comes in handy, because imagine if I didn't have any metal here. I'd have to wait tomorrow, go find a piece of pipe, probably 10 feet long, to cut this little section off, and then you end up with remnants anyways. So I wouldn't say we're a fabrication shop by any means, but when you do stuff like this, it's always good to have spare stuff. But this piece, not worth saving. Not worth it. All right, so this is gonna fit in right here. Hopefully if I cut it correctly. Dang, pretty good. A little bit of slop, don't tell anybody. Fill that in with weld. And if you can see, they have these shaped to fit perfectly. That's the right size pipe to even fit in there. They have that profile on top so that the pipe will fit in there. So I'm gonna space it down just a little bit so I have a good spot to do a weld. And then that should give us enough structure in the subframe where we can take the diff out and start welding everything. Because right now the diff is a structural member, but once we have this in there, we can take the diff out and then that will hold the the shape of the subframe. All right, guys, here's the update. I decided to skip over doing the fuel system stuff, and there's some reasons behind that. It looks like it's going to be a major undertaking for a few reasons. I don't want to talk too much. I'm trying to cut the jibber jabber, but I've got to explain this stuff. One thing is the quick change is going to be that far from the fuel cell, so it's going to be impossible to change, to take the rear cover off and change gears. So that means the fuel cell has to be moved. Well, we were going to do the surge tank inside the fuel cell, but it's kind of pointless to do that if I have to redesign the whole back of the car. That being said, the quick change is also pretty close to being done and ready to go in, and it's like, do I put it in and not be able to change gears easily just so we can, I don't know, maybe. But anyways, I decided I knew what needed to be done 100%, and that is, if you guys watch my videos, I know some of you guys watch all of them, some of you guys watch some of them. If you guys remember, I was at the track in my race suit on my back, taking this fuse box off and trying to mess with it. This is the power wire. Can you see it? This is the power wire that we jumped straight to the fuel pumps. And so I disconnected this, and then I was able to add relays in the back. So no longer are the fuel pumps relying on this fuse box. There's a single circuit going to the back, which is called fuel pump 1. We had fuel pump 2 and fuel pump 3, which are the ones that melted. Fuel pump 1 now is triggering a relay in the back. So it's not carrying a heavy load. All the load is being carried by this huge, massive relay back here. So that relay up front comes back through these wires and then triggers this relay. This is the fuel pump relay. Triggers this relay to turn on all 3 pumps. And then it's protected through this circuit breaker. This is also powering the fans. If you guys remember before, the fans were powered by just one of these that was switched on and off. No, not even that. We would have to literally unbolt and bolt to just hardwire the fans together. So now the fans are going through a 250 amp relay. The fuel pumps are through a 120 amp relay. And I think everything should work. I know it works right now, but I think this will handle everything we need. We're gonna do one more test day before we go to Hot Pit. Everything kind of hinges on whether we're going to do the quick change or not. I'm not sure about that yet, but all this stuff, I'm really happy that this is done. But like I said, I really want to do some upgrades to the fuel system, do the Deutsch FST, the new pumps and filters from Deutsch, but there's just not time yet. So that's going to be around 3. Quick change, I hope. I took some measurements, and the drive shaft is gonna be 2 inches short. That's also another big hurdle, because today's Thursday, we have to leave a week from today. And so that leaves me like a few days next week to get ready. And I don't know if the drive shaft, our local drive shaft place, will be able to modify it in time. Anyways, that's still up in the air. I'm super stoked on all this stuff. Everything seems to work for the moment. I definitely forgot about this. What does that do? That's a ground of some sort. I should probably hook that up eventually. But ECU triggers the fans, and I still have the fuel pumps on a switch. I could trigger them through the ECU, but I decided to leave a manual so I can turn them off and on. I prefer to do it that way. But that's it for tonight, and that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll have some more stuff coming soon. We're doing our first shop dyno day tomorrow. So I've been kind of bouncing back between getting the shop ready and working on this car. But next week is full steam ahead to get this ready to go to Hot Pit. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.